Hey guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be doing this workout while sharing some terrible date stories from Reddit. So let's get right into it. This is the first one. I matched with a guy who wanted to meet up early on Friday evening. I said, if we're going to meet up that early, I'm going to need some food, so I asked him to make reservations. I live in a large city, and going out to dinner, appetizers on a Friday night reservations is a must. I even offered to make the reservations myself. He said he would take care of it. Okay, met up at a spot near the train. He was trying to call a Lyft to take us to our dinner reservations. He couldn't figure out how to use the credits he had, so I tried to show him, and he yelled at me the first time. "Don't touch my phone." Whoa. Okay, sorry. We finally get in the car. He starts speaking really bad Spanish to the driver, like how my mom tries to speak Spanish in Mexico on vacation bad. The driver keeps correcting him, but says I'm not Mexican, I'm Arabic. When we get out of the car, he keeps going on and on about how the guy looked Mexican. I was like, I don't know, dude, I didn't really see him. Go to the restaurant, and he didn't make reservations. Great. I'm trying to be cool about and suggest we just walk around and try to find something. Trying to make a conversation, I say, yeah, it's hard on Friday nights if you don't make a reserve. Second time he yells, yeah, I know I ruined the date. At this point, I'm getting a little nervous. We finally find a sushi place that has room, and by this time, I'm starving. As soon as we sit down, he makes sure to tell me how little money he makes and this place seems expensive. I was so hungry I didn't care, and I was happy to pay if it means the date is over. When the check comes, I go to grab it and offer to pay. Nope. He shows me the bill to make sure I know how much it is and pays for it himself. Okay. I say I need to go, and he asks me, please go next door and get a beer with him. Okay, fine. I'm surprised she said okay, fine to that. I would have just went home. We get a beer and proceeded to tell me he knows how expensive Uber rides can be this late and says I should stay at his place tonight. I tell him no, I have a dog and I need to leave. Fine, bitch, he yells as I'm leaving. Maybe I wasn't in serious danger, but I wouldn't want to be alone with that guy ever. But that's a pretty terrible date. I would have left immediately the first time he yelled like that. If a guy is behaving like this on his first date, imagine what he would be like in a long-term relationship. That's a nope from me. Met a guy on Tinder after ending a 6-year relationship. He was in his last year of PT school and seemed to have his shit together and was really cool. I made it extremely clear that I was in no hurry to rush into a relationship and that I wanted to take my time to get to know him better. We ended up dating some months later. Everything was great. I was actually really happy with him and was going to take him home for Christmas. We had been together about 6 months at this point. Last Monday, I got a Facebook message from a random girl. She basically said she matched with my boyfriend on Tinder and found his Facebook account. She noticed that his Facebook noted that he was in a relationship with me. So she messaged me to see if we were in a relationship since they had plans for a date that week. She sent me screenshots of all their conversations. Bless this little Tinder angel's heart for messaging me. Confront boyfriend, go through the phone, not like me, find extremely graphic sexual texts between him and at least 2 other girls besides Tinder girl. Boyfriend says he was so insecure and worried that I didn't want to be with him that he wanted this false security. Broke up with him. Got drinks with Tinder girl. We're friends now. Thank goodness the other girl messaged her. I don't doubt that this is the first guy who's ever done this because I feel like I've heard these stories before. Not much of a horror story, but I can say this is one I probably won't forget since I was actually scared for my life. So, I wouldn't call myself a Tinder addict, but I have been using it for quite some time and actually have gone out on a lot of Tinder dates. I'm known as the Tinder veteran by my friends and even my younger sister. Anyway, this guy and I matched probably 2 months ago now. We hit it off. And I would be a liar if I didn't say he was good looking in his pictures. We ended up texting and calling for about a week before deciding to meet in person. We ended up picking a day after I worked. It was supposed to be at a local bar close to where I work. So fast forward to the big day. I didn't end up sleeping till about 5 a.m. this day, and I had to wake up to go to work at 7. Worked a full 12-hour day and left work to meet this guy. By this time, I didn't realize how tired I actually was until I got into my car. I thought about texting him to ask to rain check as I really wanted to go home and just lay down or take a bath. Yeah, I would have just told him I'm not coming to meet him at that point. Like, if I'm that tired, I'm not showing up. Ends up being 15 minutes away from work and 45 minutes away from home. Ugh. I follow my Google Maps to a part of town I have never been to. I arrive at the location, but end up circling the block 5 times because there are 0 signs indicating that the bar was at this location. End up parking my car in this dimly lit parking lot looking for this place. Scared shitless, I start thinking of all these awful scenarios that would happen to me. So, I see all these people leaving this old beat up looking building. I looked and saw a wooden sign that had the name of the bar written on it. Now this is just reminding me of a bad horror movie or something. But, having made plans and being one not to stand up people, I get out of my car and walk to the front door and go inside. I would have stood this guy up. There is no way I'm going inside of that bar. Texted the guy saying, "I'm here, where are you?" Instead of getting a reply like, "Oh, I'm sitting by wherever," I get, "Come inside, I'm here." Like, okay, I know you're here. Odd, I go inside, stand by the door, looking for the one person who might be looking towards the door. Finally, this guy sitting at the bar looks at me and I walk up to him. Bam, it hits me that he looks absolutely nothing like his pictures. At this point, I thought, just leave. You don't owe it to this guy who lied online any of your time. Yeah, I would have just left at that point. But I decided to give him the benefit of the doubt and went and joined him. We start talking, but he's super shady. He's already eating and probably had a couple of drinks as he was there beforehand with a buddy or something. I explained my situation of the day and apologized for my mediocre company, to which he was annoyed at and thought I was lying. We didn't end up talking as much as he was constantly on his phone and eating, so I ended up just sitting there watching highlights of a basketball game trying to understand what's going on. He finally put his phone down and starts saying how I should relax a bit more and have a drink instead of water, that I should share his food with him and also give him a kiss on the cheek. I didn't agree and politely declined each one of his offers, to which he did not take well. He was starting to get angry towards me and a bit aggressive, pulling on my chair, trying to get my sweater off me, trying to touch me, and so forth. Then he went off to call me snobby, the worst company ever. Mind you, I never have my phone out when I'm on a date to be polite and let them know that they have my full attention, that I'm lazy and not worth his time. At this time, he was starting to get a bit more physical, so I finally stood up and told him that if that's how he feels, he shouldn't contact me anymore, and I was going home. I was shaking so much when I was leaving that I had no idea what to do other than run to my car. I left the bar as fast as I could, calling one of my friends, thinking that he might have someone waiting outside to kidnap me. Ran to my car, started it, and I was out of that parking lot faster than you can say uncle. It doesn't sound as bad, but he was not the guy I remember talking to or calling. Girl, it does sound bad. This whole situation would leave me feeling so icky. Guys, if you're catfished, you have no obligation to stay there and hang out with the person that lied to you. If they're lying about who they are, you don't know what else they could be lying about. My first and only Tinder date, I started talking to a cute guy. We hit it off really well. We'll call him Greg. Greg lives in a town near an hour away, so we texted for about 2 weeks before we decided to meet due to schedules. During this time, Greg constantly attempts to wow with his food knowledge. I work in the fine dining restaurant industry, often telling me about what meal he was cooking for him and his roommates each night. After several days of talking, he then asks me to come to his house so he would be able to cook for me. I obliged, figuring what's the worst that could happen. I've talked to him several times and felt okay about the whole situation. The day comes and we meet somewhere neutral. I follow him to his house, all the while him explaining how excited he is to cook for me. We arrive at his place, everything is going well. He's exactly how I pictured him and his personality fits me perfect. Dinner time rolls around and he tells me he needs to go downstairs to begin prep. I become eager and say I'd love to help. He insists I stay on the couch and relax. We continue to talk across rooms and I can't see what's going on in the kitchen. He puts something in the oven and says it will be ready in just a bit and that he'd made extra just in case I was hungry. 15 minutes late, Greg leaps off the couch to a timer and runs to the kitchen. He brings sauces first, saying that they are the best part. He lays ketchup, ranch, barbecue sauce on the table. I begin to get confused, wondering what he made as he refuses to tell me, announcing that he wants to keep it a secret. Greg returns to the kitchen to retrieve the plates. He walks in and carries a turkey platter to the table. I gaze into what had to be no less than 3 bags of frozen fries he had displayed on a turkey platter for our dinner. He looks at me eagerly, awaiting my reaction for me to lose it. I begin uncontrollably laughing, and his smile drops as I say, "This is great, thank you," assuming that this was a gag meal and he had prepared dinner to follow. No. Greg invites me to dinner to cook his specialty, frozen French fries. They were delicious fries, and the sauce was the best part. I love the effort that this guy made. That was a cute story. Matched with the guy, and we messaged back and forth a few days before meeting up at a concert. I actually had a great time, thought he was really cute, and definitely was feeling good about the whole thing. He was about 9 years older than me, but a very clean-cut looking guy, total gentleman, and a chef at a local higher-end restaurant. He invited me back to his place after the show, and I agreed because, well, I liked the guy. Since he lived pretty close to the venue, I told him I'd follow him back. That's when he said he didn't own a car or drive. Apparently he walked there. That didn't seem like a huge red flag at first, so I gave him a ride back to his place and ended up going inside with him. He casually mentioned on the way on the steps to his apartment that he didn't expect company, so he apologized for not cleaning up better. Yeah, sure, that's something we all say because we left a dish in the sink by accident, right? No big. But I was not prepared for what I was about to walk into. The front door opened into his kitchen, where there were heaps of garbage and dirty dishes covering the table, the counters, and the sink. There was also dirty laundry strewn all around the floor, piles of it. I'm talking hoarder style. The only light was coming from the hallway behind me. I could already tell I'd made a huge mistake. It reeked like cat piss and rotting food. As he ushered me hurriedly through the kitchen to his bedroom, I found out my nightmare was only just beginning. He flipped on the light switch to his room, and, I shit you not, I saw the cockroaches scatter. Well, some of them anyway. The others didn't care and swarmed around his cat's food bowl, which he'd left sitting in the middle of the floor. Poor animal. Ugh, I don't like that. The place was a goddamn pigastry. Trash and everything just strewn about. He told me to have a seat on his bed, aka a mattress on the floor completely covered in cat hair. He whips his shirt right off to reveal pierced nipples and the worst gigantic tribal chest piece tattoo. It looks almost like he drew it on with a Sharpie, but I can tell it's real. Now, I have tattoos and piercings myself, but for some reason, he just made me want to vomit. I'm too grossed out to even set my purse on the floor, and so I'm sitting there clutching it tightly to my chest. He puts some movie on before sitting down next to me, and he starts trying to make moves. At this point, I'm looking for an escape plan, and fast. I apologize, tell him some bullshit about being tired and work in the morning, and book it the hell out of there. He continued to text me and call me a couple of times, but he did actually get the hint fairly quickly. I later found out through the grapevine that apparently this guy had been fired from his previous job for breaking in and attempting to steal all the liquor during the snowstorm. The kicker is, I ran into him a few months later at another concert where he was drunkenly dancing alone at the front before knocking over a microphone stand. Then he came up and introduced himself to my boyfriend in a very, oh, you must have heard about me kind of way. Truly one of the most bizarre human beings I've ever met and a real Tinder nightmare. Oh no. That's disgusting. Guys, if your place looks like this, you cannot have a girl over. There's no way I would have even stepped inside that apartment. So it's 9 p.m. and I meet this chick named Shannon at a bar near her place. When I sit down, she looks to already be 2 glasses of wine in. I had a beer before I went out, so the fact she chose to have her own pre-date drink at the bar rather than at home while watching YouTube videos isn't terribly concerning. But then she has another drink, and another drink, and another. At this point, I'm starting to see a red flag, but I brush it off. After all, this city is filled with heavy drinkers who make a ton of money and wouldn't think twice about going to a nice bar and throwing back a small fortune in booze. Plus, she's getting really friendly, and the conversation is flowing, and it seems as though we're having a good time. She even takes the first step towards moving the interaction into the realm of the sexual when she makes a joke about threesomes. She also pounds 2 more glasses of wine and demands that we do shots. I explained to her I actually am allergic to hard liquor, not a lie. But then even if I weren't, it's starting to get late and I had to work the next day, so I didn't want to get obliterated. She orders the shots anyways, and when they come, she drinks mine too. We talk for another half hour or so, then agree it's time to go, so we ask for the check. And that's where the trouble begins. You see, while I drank 2 small glasses of beer, she had 6 glasses of wine and 2 shots. My part of the bill was $13. Her part of the bill was $80. And now I find myself in the position of trying to balance the competing interests of being a gentleman and not being a sucker who subsides to a total stranger's alcoholism simply because she brushes her hand against my thigh a few times during a conversation. I settle on splitting the bill half and half. I think splitting the bill half and half in this situation is still really generous. Shannon does not agree. She smiles coyly and says, "Aw, babe, I thought you were taking me out." I explained that I have no problem paying for a reasonable amount for a date, but that I wasn't going to pay for the $80 worth of alcohol she slammed down. She drops her smile and her face goes blank for a second. Then she scowls and says, "You know, you were really rude earlier, and I think it's your chance to be a gentleman and make up for it." I apologized for being rude and asked her to explain what I had said that had offended her. "When you started talking about threesomes, that was really inappropriate." Okay, so clearly she had changed her tactic from charm to guilt. Unfortunately, she was too drunk to not be completely transparent about what she was doing. Not only that, she was too drunk to remember that she was the one who had made the joke about the threesomes. I feel the blood running hot in my neck and my heart beating harder. It's clear that this was never about a date. This was about an alcoholic who wants to use people. Everything up to this point had been a lie. She was willing to do whatever it took to get out of paying the bill. It was just a thing to her, a means to an end. While I'm trying to control my anger, she grabs my credit card out of my hands and tries to give it to the bartender. I take it back, hand the bartender the card, and says, "These are for the 2 beers. She will be paying for her own drinks." Shannon yells, "Are you serious?" Then stands up and runs out of the bar. Well, she doesn't run out of the bar so much as she stands up, trips over a table and falls on her face, crashes into some chairs, and then stumbles away. The bartender realizes what is happening, so he grabs another one of the staff and runs after her. When they catch up to her and tell her she needs to come back and pay for her tab. In response to this, she screams at them, telling him that I am her abusive boyfriend and that I had just cheated on her and I was trying to hurt her again by tricking her into thinking I was taking her out for a nice night. The bartender relays the story to the rest of the staff and they all form a semicircle around me, blocking me from the exit. The manager looks at me and says, "Well, unfortunately, all of our tabs have to be closed at the end of the night, so we need to take care of this. We're already closed and we stayed late to serve you guys. My employees are tired and want to go home, so you need to go ahead and pay up. I don't want to have to call the police." I've had enough. I've had enough of the alcoholic psychopath who was stumbling away with the alcohol humming through her veins, and I've had enough with these idiots who think they're going to get me to pay for some scumbag's drinks when they just let her go. I take a breath, put on my most serious lawyer face, tune up my lawyer voice, and I lay into them. Call them. Call the police right now, and I'll give them a sworn statement. They can get the statements from all of you, and we can go through the video footage and hash this thing over the next 2 hours. I'm feeling pretty good, and I don't mind if we have an investigation that goes into the early morning hours. I met this girl for the very first time tonight. I am in no way a caretaker or a guardian for this person, and I have no legal responsibility for her or a fiduciary duty to her. So I have no idea why you're coming at me as though you have established joint and liability between the two of us. You cannot legally collect her debt from me unless I voluntarily agree to allow you to. I'm not going to do that. I'll gladly wait here and give you a police statement, and I'll give you her first name and her phone number since that's all I know about her, but I'm not paying you for what she owes. That's between you two. If you're still hell-bent on making me pay up, you can take me to small claims court, but you won't win. And I can promise you, if you do that, you better believe I'm coming after you for harassment by way of unlawful prosecution. And that friend is going to cost you a lot more than $80. So you tell me, what is it that you want to do here? I stared directly into the manager's eyes, waiting for him to break. I felt it was a pretty safe bet that none of the staff were practicing attorneys who would have known that harassment by way of unlawful prosecution was completely made up. But in DC, you never know who in the service industry is a law school grad working odd jobs in a desperate attempt to pay off student debt. I hold my stare. After what felt like an eternity, but was probably more like 6 seconds, the manager sighed resignedly and looked past me. Just go, but I'm really not happy about how tonight went. Me neither, man, me neither. I called for an Uber and spent the 10-minute ride home talking about old Nintendo games. Well, he definitely wasn't in the wrong there. Glad the situation worked out for him. Alright guys, so that's it for this time. I will see you all in the next one. Bye.